Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today it is time for updated Oscar predictions this week for director and screenplay. Now we are in the middle of the TIFF Film Festival, or I don't know why I said TIFF Film Festival. I'm kind of stupid. This has already been vastly updated since last month, so we're getting a lot of new information, even new information that is like radically different from like 24 hours ago. And before I go on, I do want to let you guys know that I have memberships open for $2 a month. You get access to loyalty badges, custom emojis that you can put in chat, either in the comments or even live chat. Members only videos, I've been pumping out those a lot during the fall festivals, covering response and reviews for certain films. You know, most recently I did one for Nuremberg and how I think that could be a big Oscar contender this upcoming award season. You get members only shout outs at the end of my videos, so watch out for that at the end of this video. Early access to Oscar predictions videos, so if you are currently a member, hello, welcome to the video before, you know, everyone else sees it. You also get members only live chats every week, and you also get access to my members only Discord server where you can talk to amongst yourselves or even me, and hell, we could maybe even come up with some video ideas together for the channel. Who knows? So yeah, consider becoming a member. It really means a lot. Anyways, guys, let's get on to the predictions. And starting it off, like, again, this is already radically different from last month. I still have Ryan Coogler winning for Sinners because I just feel like Sinners is the film that's going to do most well at the guilds, you know? Like, sure, you know, sentimental value or Hamnet could definitely prevail in some major categories at the Golden Globes or the BAFTAs, but that doesn't really matter as much anymore. Like, what matters most is the guilds, you know? We just, hell, we even saw last year with Sean Baker, you know, he won Best Director off of DGA alone. Like, despite when you look at how everything was kind of going, like Brady Corbet winning Golden Globe and BAFTA, he should have had the odds to win. But we know now, time and time again, that you could be sweeping as much as you are, and even then, Brady Corbet wasn't sweeping because he actually weirdly lost to John M. Chu for Wicked at the Critics' Choice Awards. But still, you could be sweeping as much as you want, but if you don't win DGA, you're vulnerable. You know, this exact same thing happened with, you know, David Fincher for The Social Network. Like, he was sweeping everywhere. Even BAFTA, you know, he even won the BAFTA for director, but he lost DGA to Tom Hooper for The King's Speech, and Tom Hooper ended up winning the Oscar. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like Sinners, you know, more than any of these films, would do the best at the guilds. You know, yeah, it doesn't, yeah, whatever happens to the Golden Globes or BAFTAs, it's like kind of whatever, because Sinners, I could just imagine pulling it off at the PGA, you know, SAG Ensemble, definitely winning Writers Guild, and at that point, you might as well bet on Ryan Coogler to win the DGA, at DGA. And there's also a whole career narrative behind him as well, because every single one of his films after Fruitvale Station got nominated for Oscars, and it's like, it could be finally considered the time to give him the Oscar. And what better way to do it than for it to be his, you know, for his most acclaimed film to date. A film that people are calling really original, really innovative, and thinking outside the box. And not only that, like, from an artistic point of view, people are loving it, but also just generally people love this film. Like, it's won over the critics, it's won over audiences, it's probably going to win over the industry as well. So that's kind of like, again, that's still why I have Sinners winning director. And plus, if Sinners is winning Best Picture, Ryan Coogler's going to win Best Director. I don't really see a world where Ryan Coogler would lose Best Director even if Sinners won Best Picture. That, like, it would just be, it would almost be like Ben Affleck, not winning Best Director for Argo back in the day, except, Ben Affleck didn't even get nominated. So yeah, sentimental value, or I don't know if it's, I think I'm just going to assume it's Joaquin Trier. I still haven't have him at number 2, because I don't know. I don't feel like the Oscars are going to give Chloe Zhao a second Oscar for Hamnet, like, especially considering I just don't know. I don't like, it's not impossible for you to win your second Oscar relatively close to your first one. I mean, look at Steven Spielberg. I think he also won 5 years after, like, he won for Best Director for Saving Private Ryan roughly like 5 years after his win for what was the movie called? Schindler's List. And I think there was also that time in, ironically enough, in the same amount of time where Alfonso Cuarón won Best Director for Roma 5 years after winning for Gravity. So it's not, I guess that's not completely impossible, but it's also like, when you look at those kind of movies, like, those were like large achievements. Whereas with Chloe Zhao, if the pandemic never happened, would she have still won Best Director? I'm not sure. Because, like, that was just a very strange year altogether. And Hamnet, again, doesn't really seem like the kind of film that would win Director. But again, I did say that about Nora, but then at the same time, Sean Baker had never won or been nominated for an Oscar before. So there's a lot of things to consider when it comes to that. So I'm not sure. Again, like I said, I'm just going to assume maybe sentimental value may play better. And plus, I just feel like it's just going to be a stronger film overall, because I could see that getting SAG Ensemble more than I could see Hamnet getting SAG Ensemble. And I know we're talking about director here, but a lot of it still kind of like overlaps with each other in my mind. So yeah. Jafar Panahi for It Was Just an Accident. I feel very validated in sticking with this film even before the fall festivals, because it's playing almost even better at TIFF now after that it's won the Palm than it was at Cannes, because no one really knew about the film when it hit Cannes. But now, after that, Palme d'Or win, people are like rushing to see It Was Just an Accident and absolutely loving it. So I do feel like Accident is a pretty good, still a very good bet to make in director. So yeah. And then there's number 5, which I really struggled with, because I was really kind of struggling between Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme and James Vanderbilt for Nuremberg. Now you're probably wondering, Nuremberg, why are you considering this? The early reactions for this film are really, really good. Even if it's not like the most acclaimed out of the entire festival, the fact of the matter is, the people that like the movie, like those stacks are really high. Let me just look at the stacks right now, on Letterboxd, because I have the extension, the Letterboxd extra section, the Letterboxd extras extension. God, I can't speak today. But yeah, it's like when you look at like the 6s, the 7s, the 8s, 9s, and 10s, those are wildly outweighing any kind of negative reviews, which is interesting. And really I'm just going to say the 5. I don't know why I keep saying 7 and 8, because it goes by a 5-star system, but you know what I mean. It's getting like the number of, like, the highest number of stars it has are like the 4 out of 5s. But when you look at like the 5 out of 5s and the 4.5 out of 5s, they're about on par with the 3.5 out of 5s and the 6 out of 5s. And it's not even like a pyramid. It's very, very solid across the board. And so and again, the fact that the stacks are as high as they are makes me think this is just going to be a very, very generally appealing film for casual moviegoers. And that does give me some questions like, could this actually get into director? Because it is like a post World War II film. It has a lot of text going for it. And again, if it's like a top 5 film, like I think it legitimately could be, and we'll talk about that aspect of the film a little bit later on, then yeah, James Vanderbilt has a very good case to make in director, especially since he's been like a screenwriter for like a very long time for some pretty big films. And this is like his second time directing. And so I could probably see like a narrative shaping there, but at the same time, he's still relatively new to the, filmmaking chair. So would he be considered not as much of a priority? Like, okay, yeah, we'll give you like, text and screenplay and picture, but we're not going to give you director quite yet. Maybe that could be the case. But again, I'm not sure. Because again, you look at Anatomy of a Fall, that film, and Justine Triet did not really have like as much of an expansive career as some of these other directors, but yet she still got nominated because the film was a top 5 in Best Picture. So I don't know. Again, I'll probably go with Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme for now, but again, James Vanderbilt is very, very tempting. And plus, like, it does make sense. Like, it is like a traditional kind of Oscar bait film that is, in post World War II. But again, could that be a hurdle? I'm not sure. Then we get to Catherine Bigelow for A House of Dynamite. This is another film where I'm like, whoa. Because Jesus Christ, people have come out of this film absolutely loving it, which is very curious. I'm like, okay, so I guess this is way better than I thought it was going to be. Like, it was like one of the most acclaimed films coming out of Venice. That's nothing to scoff at, really. It really isn't. So, again, she has a very good case to make for director. But again, considering the fact that, I have a couple of international directors in there, and so I don't know. Maybe Catherine, maybe A House of Dynamite could be considered a little bit too commercial for director. But again, I'm not sure. So we'll have to see. But again, very, very tempting. Then we get Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. I swear to God, even though like it's so weird because I'm very inconsistent I don't know about inconsistent, but it's like. He's in such a weird position because if it's very clear that One Battle After Another is not getting into Best Picture, then Paul Thomas Anderson is not going to be in the director conversation. But if One Battle After Another is in Best Picture, then I still don't think he gets nominated, but he's going to be he's going to get a few precursors, So but again, because in the director category, I am keeping it to I'm keeping the 10 to the Best Picture 10, which I know is going to sound weird because people are going to go, oh, but you can get nominated for director and not, get nominated for picture. It's like, not when you lock it down to 10. I get look. I know what everyone's going to say. People go, but another round that got in. It's like, when you actually look at the films that were in contention, it's like, you could very well see another round being number 10. Number 8 probably could have been like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but really the only other legitimate alternative you have to another round was like getting into Best Picture was One Night in Miami. And I'm not sure it would have had the strength to do so, considering it clearly wasn't going to win any awards. And going 8 out of 10 or so with, PGA isn't really uncommon. So, yeah. And then you look at, Cold War, and that's another one where especially it's like, again, look at the competition. Like number 9, yeah, that would have been, what was it called? Like number 9 would have been, if Beale Street Could Talk, sure. But look at number 10. What was in contention? Can You Ever Forgive Me? I don't think that was really a picture contender anywhere. You look at First Man, that kind of stumbled and fell by the time the Oscar nominations happened. Mary Poppins Returns was certainly not happening. And you look along the list, it's like, well, I guess maybe Cold War could have been number 10. So like, there just wasn't like another good alternative. And you can't tell me that Foxcatcher would not have been number 9 for Best Picture in 2014. Because I swear to God, I think it's even hard it's hard trying to come up with a number 10 in that slot that year. And you look at Foxcatcher and you look at the nominations it got, director, screenplay, 2 acting nominations, makeup. It's like, of course it would have gotten Best Picture if there were 10 nominees. When you lock down Best Picture to 10 nominees, the director nominees stumble into Best Picture. Like, everyone even tried telling me, oh, The Zone of Interest is probably not going to get in Best Picture, even if Jonathan Glazer gets director. And then look what happened. It did get in Best Picture. So yeah, no, I'm not buying it. Like, I am only, like, when it comes to predicting the best director category, I am prioritizing Best Picture nominees because, like, you don't know what will happen. You don't know what rabbit they could pull out of the hat. I mean, hell, even James Mangold got nominated for director for A Complete Unknown, and people were telling me that was impossible. Like, that's never happening. And then, oops, he did. So, yeah. And then there's Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice. And the interesting thing is, if that film gets into Best Picture, he's coming along with it. But I don't know how strong No Other Choice is going to be. And also, like, considering both that and A House of Dynamite premiered at Venice, like, I don't know. It's like Venice doesn't really produce a lot of Best Picture nominees, and when they do, it's usually like only one film from the lineup gets into Best Picture, and it's very, very rare that 2 happens. So I don't know. I want to see how it goes at TIFF, and who knows what else. But yeah, that is another interesting scenario. Like, if No Other Choice is in Best Picture, he's gonna come along with it. But so yeah, like, it's chaotic. And this is actually where I have Hikari at number 12, because I'm not for Rental Family, and I'm not gonna lie, I've taken Rental Family out of Best Picture because the audience scores over at TIFF, they're not passionate. They're not really all that passionate. And you compare that to Nuremberg, it's like Nuremberg scores are like boop, 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 boop. Like the higher ratings, even if they're not the majority of the ratings, they're still significantly higher than the 9s and 10s for Rental Family. So that tells me that maybe Rental Family could end up being Saturday Night. And that's a shame, because I love Saturday Night. I thought it was one of the most underrated films of last year. But, however, I'm not gonna lie, like, it's not looking great for Rental Family. If it does not place at TIFF, it's over. It's done. The industry is just gonna completely forget that movie even existed. So yeah, that's not great for it. What else? Oh yeah, then there's Bradley Cooper for Is This Thing On? Now, we're not gonna know what this film's gonna be like until, I think, New York Film Festival. But there's already so much competition as is, and even if this got into Best Picture, I don't think it would get director. But again, if I did have it in picture, I would have to put it into the 10 somewhere. But still, I don't know. It looks like we're getting a lot of big competition, and maybe Is This Thing On could just slip under the radar a bit. Then we get to then at number 14. I have Noah Baumbach for Jay Kelly. I think this is just slowly revealing itself to be like a non-starter, to be honest, because even after Telluride, people were saying, oh, but when Telluride happens, the reviews are going to be like, it's going to be a night and day difference. And it was not a night and day difference. It was slightly better than it was at Venice. Slightly, yeah. But was it like, did the reviews suddenly just get like incredible? No. Which tells me that Jay Kelly is probably out of Best Picture. And if this and here's the thing, and even if it were to get into Best Picture, it would probably be like a bottom 5 kind of film that would not get director. So I don't know. I feel like maybe is this, I think maybe Jay Kelly might be a non-starter, to be honest. Number 15, I have Benny Safdie for The Smashing Machine, which the funny thing is he actually won the Silver Lion over at Venice for director, which is interesting. I am very curious, like how far The Smashing Machine can go, because again, I do feel like the makeup nomination is a guaranteed. The film could probably win, and Dwayne Johnson's going to get precursors. Probably Golden Globe drama, probably going to get SAG, maybe Critics' Choice, but he's not going to get the BAFTA. And so, yeah, like, I don't know. If The Smashing Machine were in Best Picture, I would be curious to see if Benny Safdie could get a nomination, but I don't know if the film has that kind of passion yet. Again, we'll see. Then we get to Kleber Mendonça, Filho for The Secret Agent, and I'm pretty sure that I completely butchered that name. Apologies for that. But yeah, again, if The Secret Agent is in Best Picture, I'd probably have to predict Kleber. But again, I don't know. That's Neon has so many films right now. It's kind of insane. There's no like if I were to put in Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice, and No Other Choice just became a Best Picture film overall, 3 would be stretching it. There's no way in hell Neon can do 4. No way. That would be genuinely nuts if that were to happen. So yeah. Number 17, I have Yorgo Lanthimos for Begonia. Again, because this film, like, this film released and people were not really head over heels over it. I mean, they thought, all right, yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not being considered like one of Yorgo Lanthimos' best, which I think is a big problem. And if it's not considered one of his best, like, I don't know. I think it's starting to become pretty clear that, like, Yorgo needs Tony McNamara to get a Best Picture film going, because it just seems like without Tony McNamara, like, it's weird. I feel like these two kind of need each other to get Best Picture nominations, or like for the film to be like a big awards player. The Favorite and Poor Things, but now when they split up, it doesn't seem to work out so well. And so I don't think Yorgo Lanthimos is happening. Mona Fastvold for The Testament of Anne Lee. The film seems to be good, but also not very accessible for, like, regular voters, from the sounds of it. Like, some people are saying it's too weird. Some people are saying it's too underdeveloped. Overall, I think my hunch was correct. It's just, like, you know, the Brutalist was the exception to the Courbet-Fastvold rule, not the rule. It is the exception, not the rule. So yeah. Number 19, John M. Chu for Wicked for Good. God, if somehow Wicked for Good was able to, like, squeeze into competition this tight in Best Picture, Jesus Christ. But even then, I don't think John M. Chu would get nominated because, again, it's a big blockbuster. They don't really like big blockbusters in director, which I know I just said Ryan Coogler is winning, but Ryan Coogler is going to be in the shadow of, like, other big blockbuster filmmakers. And, Sinners is also considered more of, like, an original thing going on. So, yeah, and it's also not too much of a blockbuster, not too much, but still. Then at number 20, Clinton Bentley for Train Dreams. I don't know. We'll have to see. 21, Masha Shalinsky for Sound of Falling. I don't think so. This film is not really doing like a Fall Fest run, so probably not. And then 22 is Ronan Day Lewis for Anemone. Again, probably not. Then we get to Original Screenplay. And once again, I have Sinners winning. Now, because, and like I said, picture, director, screenplay. I think Sinners is going to take those. And why do you ask? Well, once again, I must preface this. I don't think it's going to be an easy Best Picture year. I think it's going to be somewhat chaotic at first. And when it's chaos at first we don't really know what's going on. what do the Oscars do? They typically go to the guilds. They go to the guilds and they put all their eggs in the basket of one film. For example, you look at movies like Anora, Parasite, The King's Speech, Birdman. Those films in weird races ended up taking picture, director, and screenplay because the Academy just wanted to make sure that all their eggs were. Oh, and also Everything Everywhere All at Once. Forgot about that. Like the Academy wanted to make sure that all the eggs were in one basket, so that they could ensure those films would win something. Whereas with other years, you look at the Oppenheimer year or the Nomadland year. Those were years where they did split, and also what was it? Even the Green Book year, they split things up a bit because everyone knew Christopher Nolan was winning Best Director and Best Picture. Everyone knew Nomadland was winning Best Picture and Director. Everyone knew that Alfonso Cuarón was going to win Best Director. Like sometimes when someone is just sweeping that hard, they don't really want to change it that much. It's usually in some of the other categories where they go, oh, okay, well, we can sort of move away from that. But Sinners is the kind of film where it's if it's winning one, it's going to win the other, and if it's winning both, then it's going to win Best Picture. It's such a strange set of circumstances. But yeah, I do think Sinners is at least poised right now to win picture, director, and screenplay because those are the film because that's the film that would probably win a lot of those guilds. Because sentimental value would probably, I don't know what guilds it would win. Maybe the most likely one could be, I don't know, maybe DGA, but even then I'm not sure about that. Like, maybe SAG Ensemble? It's really hard because, I just don't see it beating Sinners anywhere. And even then, because we're talking about screenplay, sentimental value is not going to be eligible for the Writers Guild Awards. So that's already a big, knockdown on that film. So there's that. It was just an accident. You're probably going to think, you're probably thinking, God, you have the film that high up in original screenplay. Well, the thing is, if something comes by, if something else comes by, I could see Marty Supreme or A House of Dynamite falling out of original screenplay, but accident, I feel like would still stick in there somehow because it's because sometimes this does happen. Like, look at The Zone of Interest when that got into adapted screenplay over Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, that was a really interesting set of circumstances that allowed for that to happen. So I am kind of thinking, if something were to go, it probably would not be accident. It'd probably be either Marty Supreme or House of Dynamite. Right now, I still have Marty Supreme and House of Dynamite in there. I think they're good bets. If I'm not mistaken, they are both Writers Guild eligible, which granted is not going to help us too much because it's we're not going to have the Writers Guild or the BAFTAs for guidance when it comes to the screenplay nominations. So, which means we're not going to have a single industry precursor for the screenplay categories when predicting the nominations, which is really going to screw me over so bad, because if it wasn't for the fact that Dune 2 missed adapted screenplay at the BAFTAs, I would have predicted it over Sing Sing easily. But yeah, so this year's not going to be helpful. But yeah, then outside of that, we have some non-Best Picture films. Is This Thing On? I do feel like if Is This Thing On is in picture, it would need screenplay. That's one of the more prerequisite categories it would need to get. And same thing with Rental Family, which I also don't have an original screenplay anymore because I feel like it's kind of done. Or at the very least, I shouldn't say done, but if it's not in Best Picture, it's not going to get screenplay. And if it's not in screenplay, it's not going to get picture. So it's kind of like one of those things. It needs screenplay to stay into picture, and it needs Best Picture to get into screenplay. So yeah, The Smashing Machine, if this were to be a big hit, okay, maybe I could see it getting into screenplay, but that would be insane. Jay Kelly, I feel like if it were in Best Picture, it would be a no-brainer for screenplay. But again, I don't know. It's not looking great for it. Number 10, I have The Secret Agent. Once again, if it's in Best Picture, I would predict it in screenplay, but I don't know what, probably not right now. Then, we have Anemone, which it could be a screenplay film, but again, it would need to be like pretty in Best Picture to get in there. And let's see, Sound of Falling, Testament of Anne Lee, Ella McKay. I don't think they're happening, but again, who knows? But I feel pretty good about the top 5 I have right now, so yeah. Then we have Adapted Screenplay, the final category we're going to be talking about today. And I'm not going to lie, before 24 hours ago, I would have said, oh yeah, Hamnet is winning this in a handbasket. Nothing is going to challenge it. Now I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure. Now, granted, I still think it's going to win, but boy, oh boy, if Nuremberg proves itself to be a big contender, do not doubt the idea that it could maybe win Adapted Screenplay. Do not doubt that for 1 second, because if you're just you could be a very strong, very populist film and win screenplay over a film that's probably a little bit more acclaimed, because, your film is the most liked in the category. Look at what happened with Belfast versus Licorice Pizza. Licorice Pizza was pretty much more acclaimed than Belfast, but Belfast ended up beating Licorice Pizza. I'm trying to think of what else happened. Green Book ended up beating out some other picks like The Favorite, which was more acclaimed than Green Book, but again, the passion for Green Book was just that much stronger. And another great example of this was Jojo Rabbit beating movies like The Irishman and Little Women. Again, because people found, something like at least something about Jojo Rabbit that was really intriguing and just made it an interesting film. They wanted to go for it in screenplay. And I could see Nuremberg doing that. I could see a world where Nuremberg beats Hamnet for adapted screenplay because they like the story. They think it's relevant. I could see that for the film. It could end up being Belfast or Jojo Rabbit. I could definitely see that happening. And if that happens, boy howdy, watch out if it could win Best Picture. Watch out. If this wins People's Choice, I genuinely think it has a case to maybe win Best Picture. Because that could definitely be a reality we live in. And, would people probably call it the new Green Book? Could this become the award season villain? Maybe. But, and I know people are going to say, well, the Academy's past that. People thought the Academy was past, movies like Green Book. People thought that was the case. But it wasn't the case. We were in a certain political climate, and that kind of film resonated with people at the time. And something like Nuremberg could also be that kind of film. It could, because, let's face it, Nazism is becoming way more prevalent now than ever, and people could probably start to think, well, this is a good, a good way to combat against that. And people will try to say, well, oh, but it's American propaganda or whatever. You gotta remember, this is the Academy we're talking about. They will sometimes go for the films that have the more simple message, but the message they feel is the most effective at that time. So they could just go with Nuremberg. That is a legitimate possibility that they'll go with. Again, right now I'll go with Hamnet. But don't doubt Nuremberg. There is a world where it could beat Hamnet for adapted screenplay. One Battle After Another, I think, is a good solid number 3. I don't think it would win adapted screenplay. I mean, but then again, maybe it could. I guess for similar reasons as Nuremberg, is that it also is kind of like the another kind of anti-Trump movie going on. But I don't know. Wouldn't it just feel weird for this film to win adapted screenplay, but also not picture? I don't know. I mean, I guess, because I don't know. I feel like if they're going to give Paul Thomas Anderson an Oscar, it would be like his Oppenheimer that wins. So I don't know. Springsteen delivered me from nowhere. I have it in Best Picture. I think it's a decent bet to make an adapted screenplay at the moment, so why not? And then at number 5, I'm rounding it out with Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. The reviews have come out for the film. It's about as good as the other two, so that's good enough for me. So yeah, Rian Johnson is completing his trilogy of Oscar-nominated screenplay films. So yeah, no other choice is, again, in an interesting position. If it's in Best Picture, it would absolutely get adapted screenplay. What would it beat out, though, is the question. I guess it would probably beat out Springsteen, probably. So there is that. So yeah. Ballad of a Small Player. Now that more and more reviews have come out, it's not really as acclaimed as some other, or at least as Edward Berger's other films. So it's probably not going to do anything, really. And same thing with Begonia. Begonia doesn't really look like it's going to be that strong in particular. Train Dreams, that would be like an insane pick that they would do. I don't know. Frankenstein, the reviews of that movie have come out. People are not really like they're saying that it's good, but they're not saying it's amazing. Wicked for Good, even if it's in Best Picture, I would still not predict this for adapted screenplay because they do not go with stage musicals in the writing categories. They just do not. Because I know people are gonna try to say, well, what about Chicago? Chicago is different. That radically changed the story, or at least changed the structure of the story from the stage show to a film medium. Like an intercutting between the real world and the musical world. Like that was not really done before. That's why because it transformed the source material in a radical way that only would work and that could only be done in a film medium, and you have to put that into the screenplay first. That's why Chicago got in. Whereas Wicked, it's not really like that. It mostly is just the same dialogue and the same story as the stage show. It's just longer. And I just don't feel like Wicked for Good is going to be enough of a change to get into screenplay, even if it is in Best Picture. So, yeah. And yes, I know that, and look, there are other films that have done that I said, pointed out that fall under this as well. Like West Side Story did not get a screenplay nomination because it didn't really change the story all that much. What was it? Les Miserables didn't do that. It didn't, get into adapted screenplay because it's mostly the same as the stage show. And then people are going to go, well, what about Emilia Perez? What about La La Land? Those are mostly like original musicals. I mean, like La La Land is definitely original. So like, because they had to come up with that story on its own, and it's not like an adaptation of anything. So, like, of course, that would get a screenplay nomination. And then with Emilia Perez, I mean, yeah, it's adapted from a book and whatnot, but the musical elements and whatnot were original. It's not like there was, like, an Emilia Perez musical, like, stage musical, and they put that into a movie. No, it was basically conceived of from the ground up. And so, yeah, that's why I think even if Wicked for Good were in Best Picture, it would not get into adapted screenplay. There's a reason why stage musicals do not get nominated in these categories. They just are mostly not much of adaptations. They are mainly just translations or like word for word translations from stage to movie. So, yeah. Avatar Fire and Ash, again, even if it's in Best Picture, it's not going to get adapted screenplay. Even Avatar The Way of Water couldn't even get into Writers Guild, so what have you there? Life of Chuck, I don't know, like it's near the bottom, and at the very bottom is Naked Gun. I could maybe see this getting into Writers Guild, but then again, I don't know, it's looking to be pretty crowded, so I don't know anymore. But I still don't think they would give it the win for... No, not the win. I still don't think the Oscars would nominate Naked Gun. But still, guys, those are my director and screenplay predictions for next year's Oscars. Next week is going to be for the acting categories and SAG Ensemble, so be sure you watch that. And now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your director and screenplay predictions for the month of September? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're gonna be filled with a house of dynamite.